All right, welcome back to our explainer on ASC 310 receivables. We're now moving into section 4 of 8, measurement, specifically going from transaction price to amortized cost. So in our last section, we nailed down exactly when to record a receivable. But now it's time to figure out the math. Today, we're going to determine exactly how much to record that receivable for on day 1, and, just as importantly, how that number evolves over time. Here's our roadmap for this section. We'll start with initial measurement and transaction price, look at adjustments for complex terms, dive into subsequent measurement with amortized cost, see amortized cost in practice, and finally ask the big question, why not fair value? Let's just dive right into it with initial measurement, transaction price. So, day 1, this is all about finding the exact right starting number for your balance sheet. When a receivable is first recognized, you measure it at the transaction price. And honestly, that's just a simple way of saying the amount the company is legally entitled to receive. For your everyday run-of-the-mill trade receivables, the standard 30 to 90-day payment terms, it's incredibly straightforward. Literally, what you see on the invoice is what you get. You send a bill for 10 grand, you record a 10 grand receivable. Boom, done. Since the time frame is so short, we don't even have to worry about any complex financing components. But, of course, things aren't always that simple. So let's look at adjustments and complex terms. We already know standard 30-day terms need zero adjustment. But what if you offer an early payment discount? Say a standard 210 net 30 deal. Well, initially, you still record the full invoice amount. But if the customer actually takes that discount, you have to adjust by reducing both the receivable and the revenue. Now, what about notes receivable? If the stated interest rate matches the market, easy. Just record the face value. But, and this is a big but, if you give the buyer a below-market rate, you're effectively giving them a hidden deal on financing. In that case, you absolutely must record the present value, which creates a discount that you'll amortize later as interest income. And finally, any long-term receivable extending beyond a year, that strictly requires discounting to present value, because a significant financing component exists. If you miss these adjustments, you're heading straight into non-compliant financials territory. Okay, so day 1 is officially in the books. You've got the initial measurement, you've applied any present value adjustments, but what happens on day 2, or day 60, or year 3? That brings us to our next major topic, subsequent measurement, specifically focusing on amortized cost. Here is the core of ASC 310. After initial recognition, receivables are carried at amortized cost for their entire life. I want you to think of amortized cost as a living, breathing number. It is never static. It changes and evolves each and every period as interest accrues and as cash payments are applied against the balance. And crucially, this is super important, it does not reflect current fair value or market value. We'll get into exactly why that is in just a minute, but first, let's actually look at the mechanics. Let's make this concrete and check out amortized cost in practice. Let's step into a real-world scenario. Imagine your company issues a note receivable with a face value of $100,000. That's the amount the borrower promises to pay you back at maturity. However, to set this whole thing up, you collect a $3,000 origination fee up front from the borrower, right? So if the note is for 100 grand, but you already pocketed 3 grand on day 1, the actual net cash you lent out isn't 100,000, is it? No, your true day 1 economic reality is exactly $97,000. That is your net carrying amount at inception. Basically, you're out of pocket $97,000 today, but you hold a contract entitling you to $100,000 in the future plus interest. And because you're earning a return on a $97,000 actual investment, not a $100,000 one, your effective interest rate, your true economic yield, is actually going to be higher than the stated rate on the paper. This beautifully illustrates the effective interest method. Let's say the stated rate on that note is 7%. Because of that upfront $3,000 fee, our true effective yield is actually 7.73%. So what happens in year 1? We calculate our interest income using our true economic reality, the $97,000 carrying amount multiplied by our 7.73% effective rate. That gives us $7,499 in interest income. But wait, the cash we actually collect from the borrower is based on the contract, $100,000 times 7%, which is just $7,000 flat. See the difference? We recognize $7,499 in income, but only took in 7 grand in cash. That $499 difference? That is the amortized discount. We add that directly to our carrying amount, bringing our year 1 end balance to $97,499. And step by step, year over year, that carrying amount is going to steadily climb from 97 grand right back up to the $100,000 face value at maturity. Okay, that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. Why not fair value? You might be looking at all this math and wondering, why do we go through all this trouble? Why build these complex amortization schedules instead of just marking the receivable to whatever its current market value is every single period? Well, it all comes down to the fundamental purpose of the asset. Amortized cost perfectly matches our interest income with the actual economic yield we earn over time. For receivables that you hold specifically to collect contractual cash flows, it's just the most accurate reflection of business reality. Fair value, on the other hand, would just inject a ton of meaningless market volatility right into our books. Think about it. If prevailing market rates suddenly jump up or down, the theoretical fair value of your note might swing wildly. It's like a financial roller coaster you didn't even ask to ride. But if you're planning to hold that note to maturity anyway, those swings are just noise. ASC 310 strictly requires amortized cost to shield your financials from that irrelevant volatility. So you now know how to determine initial transaction prices, when to apply those tricky present value adjustments, and the fundamental logic behind using amortized cost to protect your balance sheet from market noise. But look back at the math we just did. We saw exactly how the carrying amount grows, but how on earth do we calculate that highly specific 7.73% effective interest rate from scratch? In our next section, we are going to master the exact math behind the effective interest rate, tackle premiums, and build those amortization schedules completely from the ground up. Until then, I want to leave you with this thought. If the numbers define the reality of your business, are your current receivables actually reflecting your true economic reality?